She started her non-profit organization in an effort to help young underprivileged girls. Actor and writer Buhle Ngaba, through her organization KaMatla Productions and her book, Girl Without a Sound, has given a voice to the voiceless and often ignored in mainstream society. Her book is written to empower and inspire young black girls and remind them that their voices deserve to be heard. And Ngaba wrote the story in defiance of a racist and patriarchal society where black female bodies are disempowered and dismissed, and as a call to action for girls and boys of color to use their voices to shape their lives. Buhle joins us on the show to discuss the role that her work is playing in restructuring gendered societal norms. And Buhle, pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you.
And
it's so lovely to be here.
Much appreciated that you could make time to be with us.
Thank
a girl, or rather the girl without a sound. This is your book.
Yes, it is.
All right, and it's targeting a specific age group?
You know, initially, I thought maybe it was for children, but I found in the reception that I've received for the book that I've had so many women of all ages so open to it and wanting to read it, which has been really incredible.
But no, it's like a big idea, big theme thing that inspired this, that the racist and patriarchal society, and you want to give voice to the voiceless with this book. How so?
Well, I think, you know, I like to always tell the story of how the book actually came about because it was such an insane coincidence that turned into something so much bigger than what I could have imagined. But, you know, I'm an actress, and at the time, I think it was in February, I didn't have money to buy my aunt a birthday present. So I sat down and I thought to myself, okay, I'm just going to write her a story loosely based on us. 2 days later, I'd finished it. I printed it onto 5 pieces of paper, and I took a picture of just the title, The Girl Without a Sound, and I put it on my social media with the hashtag books for black girls. Next thing, people start asking me, where can we buy a copy of the book? And you know, at the time, it was only 5 pieces of paper, and I couldn't understand how people were responding in this way. But instead of saying, no, there is no book, I decided to make a book.
Okay.
So I gathered a phenomenal team. We created it in 3 weeks. We put it out for free on our website. The internet crashed on the day that it actually went out for free, which then gave me an idea. Man, okay, so people want this book. But I always say, you know, it was only after I'd finished writing this story that I realized that what I had done was written a story with a black protagonist, a little black girl. And I realized I never ever got that, you know, in my when I was younger. I never got to pick up a Cinderella and see myself, or pick up a Sleeping Beauty and see myself. So I'd written something where I saw myself.
But now, you know, some of the books you refer to are fantasy type stories, right?
Yes.
And they may be written from the perspective of the authors, who predominantly would be of European descent. And therefore, they'll tell the story from their point of view. Did you try to tell a fantasy story yourself in here, or did you feel that you must be top-heavy and just tell it in the political way possible?
Oh, definitely not. Definitely. I'm an actress. I'm a storyteller. You know, what I do is I get onto stages and I make up worlds. So I would definitely say that I wrote it also in a fantasy form, you know. I didn't... The politics only came afterwards, I think, you know. I was writing a story for kids. I was writing a story for myself. I was writing a story with the potential for so many things to happen. It's magic.
Well, moving, because then if it's got elements of fantasy, how does it address the issues that I raised at the intro, at the beginning of our interview, that it deals with patriarchal and gives voices a voice? How does it do that?
Well, I found, I write in the style of magical realism, I think, and I'd been exploring the story of a voiceless girl. So what I did was, instead of giving her... I gave the little girl in the story a physical problem, you know, that she has a cocoon in her throat that stops her from speaking. And that to me is representational of the way in which I've felt as a young black woman, you know, especially as a little girl, let's say in classrooms. I've often felt like I haven't been able to be heard, or it's in little things even, how, you know, as a young black girl, you walk into these classrooms and, you know, the teacher can say Kelly or Sarah, but as soon as you say, my name is Buhle, she doesn't even begin to try to say Buhle. And to me, that is robbing a little girl of a voice.
And I suppose taking the story further, when we refer now to the Pretoria Girls High.
Yes.
That resonated with you, I suppose,
Yes.
when those girls at the school, spoke against authority and said
Definitely.
that they were being marginalized and they were not allowed to express themselves, and for that matter, just allowed to be who they are.
Exactly. It definitely did resonate with me. I think so many of us can relate to that, I mean, we went to these schools where we weren't allowed to necessarily wear our afros, We were told that the braids had to be a certain kind of way. And I think when that story broke, I was so proud of these girls because I wish I'd been brave enough to do the same thing. I really, really wish I'd been able to voice myself in that way.
But South Africa is also multidimensional, beyond questions of race or patriarchy. You, having lived around the country, there's also different dynamics at the regional level. Take KZN, KwaZulu-Natal, is very different to Western Cape, where you lived as well, and Northern Cape, and now Gauteng. What is your take overall? Do you think that the national challenges are the same everywhere, or they take a regional nuance?
Yeah, I definitely think because I've traveled to so many different parts of South Africa, I can definitely see how our needs are different. Our needs and wants are completely different. I mean, for example, I translated The Girl Without a Sound into Mosetsanyana yo didimetseng, because my family's from the Northwest and because I've found that when I go home, those are the people whose stories are not being told the most, Whereas I went to school in the Western Cape, let's say, and there I found that I was silenced, but in a different way, And I found that we all have different needs and we're all in different parts of South Africa. But, ultimately, I think that right now where we are in South Africa, what's become very clear to me, particularly within the youth, is that people feel as though they aren't being heard.
But now, that is in group situations.
Yes.
As individuals, we also possess our different personalities and character. You would define yourself as an actor. And you even have your organization, KaMatla Productions. How has your career defined who you are and how you see yourself in the broader South African society?
I see myself as a storyteller. Before I call myself an actress or even an author or an activist, I see myself as a storyteller. And I think that my role directly in South African society is to help people learn how to tell their own narratives. Because as I said, I feel like that's the biggest problem, people feeling as though they aren't either being given the tools to be heard or the platforms to be heard. So specifically with KaMatla Productions, let's say, what I do is I go into different parts of South Africa and I look at the youth in those parts of South Africa and I take drama narrative workshops and I teach kids how to begin expressing themselves and specifically their narrative in their context wherever they may live.
And why does this matter to you? Because that's where you find the true nature of a person, right? Why things matter to them.
Because if you don't feel as though your story is being heard...
Well, let me tell you
Yes,
why
yes.
I'm asking you the question, because you'll understand.
Okay.
People might say, look, we should be talking about earning an income. Talk about a job. Don't tell us about storytelling. How much money are you going to make? You must think about getting your own house or your own flat, getting married, and then becoming a housewife,
Yes.
or become whatever it is,
Yeah.
and going after lots of money if you can. So in that context, why storytelling?
Because with stories, you can begin to imagine what you could become. I'll give you a very direct example.
Yes.
So last year, I did a fantastic workshop called Rural Innovation Lab in Limpopo with a group of 20 kids from around the district. And so we did different sorts of things. We played games, we wrote stories. I got them to show me their own stories. I got them to act. And by the time we got to that very last day, we sat in a circle and it was time to reflect. And I asked them, okay, what have you gained from this whole process? And what ended up happening was I had on my hands 20 kids who started to tell me what it was that they wanted to become. And then one girl in particular told me that this was the first time that she had felt brave enough to be able to say, wow, one day I'd really like to become a doctor. Because the way that she put it, the village that she's from, she wouldn't even begin to be able to
imagine
exactly
that, or dream about that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Stories are imagination.
Yeah. If she said to somebody there, they'd say, "Walora." Where?
Exactly, walora.
Walora.
Mara go tshwanetse gore re lore.
So, how do people get in touch with you to get a copy or know a little bit more about The Girl Without a Sound?
They can go to www.gowithoutassound.com, where they can get a free download of the English version as well as the Setswana version. The other versions are going to be coming out next year. If they'd like to order a physical hard copy of the book, there's an order button on the website, or they can go to Exclusive Books. We're recently there.
Now that I'm thinking about it, the way we live our lives and we do whatever we do, that's our story, isn't it? Whatever it is, doctor, lawyer, whatever it is, that's your story here on planet Earth for the time that you have been loaned.
Completely.
Buhle, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr.
The Girl Without a Sound, she's the author of the book and, of course, giving the voice to the voiceless. Order a book for yourself if you want to know more. But again, you can replay this interview and you'll get it.